Work from Home Wellness series has been prepared by involving 3 subject matter experts to help us tackle lockdown. It's been a real rough couple of years. I think everybody can rightly understand what that means. So what we wanted to do was go straight into action mode and access some brilliant subject matter experts. We've got Abigail today, which we're really excited for, to help tackle ways to respond to testing times. And perhaps this is a good case of resilience. How are you, Abigail?
Very good, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad we're back on track now. Good to be back in this space together.
Indeed. A little bit about key numbers that led us here today. Abigail's got some other insights that we'll walk through. So probably the key things that Employment Hero identified are the ones at the bottom there. So we saw that 53% of employees rated their work-life balance as average to very poor. That's one of the lowest response we've ever had since we started the survey last year. So people are clearly struggling getting the balance right as they're working from home. However, with that in mind, 63% of users or employees rated their employees' commitment to well-being as being good or excellent. So what that tells us is there is a bit of a disconnect between people struggling a little bit, but also recognizing that their employers are really trying to help solve. So today is really about joining those two parts. If you are struggling with the balance of work from home life, how can we help tackle that for you? And then as an HR manager or a business owner, how can you empower your team to thrive in their lives? So today we're talking about corporate care. And there are a number of different aspects that Abigail will be covering off today. Abigail is the founder of As You Are Life School. As an experienced and engaging yoga and meditation teacher, she'll be sharing a bunch of transformative and sustainable practices that can be used both publicly and privately and also in corporate life. So she's been doing that for many years. And thank you for having us. Thank you for coming, Abigail.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a wonderful occasion to be kicking off your wellness series. So thanks for getting me involved. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us again. It's good to have you all. I'll just get the slide ready for us together. Let me get that one. Alrighty, so today we're going to be looking at corporate care and what that looks like. So let's get this up here. So we're going to be exploring some practical and integrative ways that we can start to boost self-wellness, but also wellness for our teams and our colleagues and people in our lives. Thank you, Ray, again for having me here. It's wonderful to have you. And Ray did mention a little bit on the previous time we were all together that some of this will be your thing and it will invite curiosity, and some of it will not be your thing. So just take what you are curious about, what you'd like to explore further, leave the rest. It's here for you as a bit of a buffet to explore some ways where we can boost wellness for ourselves and our teams. So let's get to it. So corporate care, what is that and how can we describe it? So it's caring for yourself and your team or your teams in the corporate space through the integration of supportive measures, tools and techniques that seek to boost overall well-being. So within this webinar, within this presentation, we're going to be looking at firstly, why it's important right now to do this, and wellness strategies and how we can prioritize them. We're going to be deep diving into a little bit of meditation on the kind of the information surface level. Obviously, these practices are to be experienced to really feel the benefit, to understand the benefit working in your systems. And we'll explore yoga and the inner work, which is some really transformative tools that I've been sharing in the corporate space privately and publicly for a few years now and have been getting some really beautiful benefits. The next place we'll go is we'll look into working from home wellness hacks, some of my top tips and tricks that can keep you feeling vital and buoyant during these working from home times. And then there'll be space for questions and answers at the end. So why is it more important than ever to really shine the light of importance on wellness for ourselves and our teams? Well, as Ray showed you some stats, some figures, There is a mental health crisis going on currently, and especially during this time of isolation and working from home, depending on where you are in the country, maybe you're somewhere else, you're going to be feeling like there's a disconnect, there's this isolation. So it's really important that we prioritize our mental health and also our team's mental health collectively. So before lockdown, before working from home happened, 1 in 4 Australians are feeling lonely regularly. So imagine how that amplifies when we're in these circumstances. Now, you might be on the other side of that. You might be feeling overwhelmed with so many people living together. Maybe this is the first time you're working from home and you've got childcare duties. Perhaps some of your teammates, your colleagues are in that situation, either completely isolated, alone, feeling disconnected, or overwhelmed from the amount of activity and commotion going on at home, trying to manage everything. And Lifeline got its record number of calls on 2nd of August 2021, with 3,345 calls just in one day. So if you or yourself or your teams or your family are in crisis, I'm going to pop some numbers that are really useful at the end to some amazing organizations that you can connect with. So I'll leave that kind of hanging in the last little slide for you to take note of, or to jot down or copy and paste should you need it. Another reason why it's so important is because when we are restricted in terms of what we can do socially, our colleagues start to become our community. Now, this can be a good thing in one sense for team building and connecting, and we start to get a little bit more vulnerable and human, sharing things that perhaps we weren't sharing before this circumstance. But it's also important to keep a professional boundary and to lean into your other support networks as well. So knowing that most of our wellness activities have been cancelled, if you're a team player and you like to get out in groups, it might feel very different for you now to be doing that on your own or in twos. So we start to lose the physical health that maybe we were really working at through team activity, and you're not feeling as motivated or disciplined to getting yourself out there. Another thing that can be impacting our bodies physically, and knowing that there is that connect through mind, body and mind, that when our body is feeling tight or cramped, our mind space, our mental health isn't feeling too good either. Another thing that can contribute to that is having an inappropriate work setup. Now, I don't know about you, but even me working in the wellness space, sometimes I get into my email mode and I'm on the sofa, my whole body's like twisted up, or I'm standing on the kitchen counter. But having the inappropriate work setup can really make some drastic changes to your body. So looking to improve your work setup can make a big difference for your physical, mental, and emotional health. Another reason why it's important for us, especially as leaders, to be setting the precedent in the wellness space right now, is that our employees are looking to us to show them some options, some examples. Some yoga studios, for example, are closed, gyms are closed, and that means those things have kind of stopped unless the teachers have gone independent, and they're looking to their work to providing some support right now in that space. So let's move on to lack of structure and routine causing cloudiness. You might be feeling a little bit foggy. You might be late to get back to emails, to respond. You might not be as focused, as clear during this state of isolation or restriction. And that is totally normal. That is totally normal. So be kind to yourself, be easy on yourself and your colleagues. But also what can help that is starting to find a new structure, a new way of dealing with your working from home experience and for your teams. And that comes down to the next part, which is boundaries while working from home. It's looking at screen time boundaries, family and work time boundaries, looking at working hour boundaries, so that you can start to carve a new norm for yourself, not just kind of being floating in the cloud of one day moving into the next, and having this kind of monotony. You want to look at a structure and you want to stick to a structure so that you can find some healthy boundaries. In terms, I'll give you just one now with the healthy boundaries. We get to feel like we're meant to be available 24/7 to our teams. And that comes from a place of, now that our social activities are done, now that we're all kind of cooped up, your colleagues tend to think, well, what else are you doing? Like, surely you can have this meeting, or surely I can just message you and you'll get back straight away. So it's making sure your boundaries are still set. If you had a health appointment for yourself to go out for your 20-minute walk and meditate and get the sun, then staying true to those boundaries is going to help a lot while working from home. Any thoughts on that one before I head on over?
Yeah, Abigail. So work from home and remote work is an area that we're spending a lot of time on at Employment Hero, and there are interesting behaviors or routines you can set to make sure that you're really setting yourself up for success.
That's absolutely true. And I think it comes down to a personal way of doing that. Maybe it's your mornings that you're really actively structuring, or maybe it's more of an evening thing to wind down the working day. Maybe that's going to be your area of focus as an individual or as a team. As a leader, you can say, okay, everyone, by 5 p.m., no more emails being sent out. Give yourself half an hour of self-care, and we'll meet again tomorrow.
That's probably a really big one. For those that are HR managers or people leaders on the call, in Employment Hero and experience that we've had, and certainly the feedback that we receive from a lot of our organizations that we work with, is that this wellness space is really from top down. So if teams can see that leadership are empowered and are actually demonstrating the behaviors, then as an individual, you maybe a little bit more junior in the team, or maybe a new team member, you fall into that accepted behavior, and it feels much easier. So examples of that are, in Employment Hero, it's very acceptable to have blackout periods in your day. We work asynchronously as opposed to having traditional 9-to-5 roles. So if, for instance, between for a couple of hours in the middle of the day that you really need a blackout period to be able to do all the things that you need to do to look after yourself, then that's accepted, and the business knows that in the spirit of working asynchronously, that's to be supported across the board. So the challenge, I suppose, as an HR manager or even as a business owner, is how do you make sure that the team feel empowered to be able to do that? In terms of structure and routine, probably just a quick one there. I know that when we first moved into lockdown last year, my wife and I are actually living in quite a small 1-bedroom apartment, and the living room was also the office and also the lounge room effectively. So it was this real cramped space. And a strategy that we came up with, and this is really helpful for those that are working from their room or from the living room, is that when you've got your orientation of the room, when it's, say, for instance, the dining table, you've got your orientation and that's set up as a dining table. When you start work for the day, I recommend you try changing the orientation of the dining table, maybe just move it 90 degrees slightly differently. You maybe sit on the other side of the table and you present your work gear. You work for the day, work. At the end of the work day, pack away all of your computer and work stuff so you can't see it. Ideally, put it under the table, is what we did. You put it, you change the orientation back to the way it was, and then your office goes from back to being a dining room. At the end of the workday, the way that we also did this, we would leave our apartment building and do a lap of the block and effectively commute back home, even though we were coming and leaving to the same place. It really helped create barriers in our day to, separate the worlds.
That's brilliant. I love those routines that you set for yourself. It makes a lot of sense to have that clear, distinct boundary between work time, off time, because we are living and working, breathing in the same space. So it's really essential. For me personally and my partner, it's the sunset dog park walk at sunset when the sun's about to go. It's changing now, it's getting later. But as it's about to go, I say, right, stop whatever you're doing, middle of an email, dog park. And we don't have a dog ourselves, but we just go and we walk and we do maybe a little bit of yoga as the dogs are doing their thing. And seriously, that has been such a wonderful addition to our health pack for ourselves right now. Alrighty, let's move on. Please feel free to drop your questions in the chat as well, and Ray will feed off of that. And at the end, there'll be a time for much more questions and answers. So when we come to prioritizing wellness while working from home, we all get the fact that we're viewing wellness in a slightly different way. So my wellness might look different to your wellness. And I want you just to take a few moments to contemplate for yourself what wellness looks like to you. You might do that with your eyes closed, because as soon as you close your eyes, you're tuning into a different brainwave and you're getting a little bit clearer within yourself. When I say the word wellness, where do you go? Where does your mind drift to straight away? Is it physical health? Is it getting to the gym? Is it more of a spiritual health where you're connecting to a deeper essence of yourself? Or is it more financial health where you feel abundant financially? So just take a little moment to see where wellness lies for you, how you perceive it, and then acknowledge that that might not be the same for your employees, your colleagues, your teammates, your family members. So it's a matter of carving out your own wellness strategy. But then when you're thinking of a collective group, it's about being open and accessible, providing many different options for wellness right now. On that theme, have a little think about what wellness tools and measures you have in place currently and how you can adapt these to working from home. So I know a lot of companies I was working for, I would go in to the office and I'd deliver a meditation session or a yoga session or a wellness session. And a lot of those things just dropped. They just stopped. There's been a few clients picking up online still, making it a priority, which is amazing. But it's a matter of how you're adapting with the current situation and making things accessible still for your teams and for yourself. And then looking at what your own priority is at this stage. So when we look at the wellness wheel or the wellness cycle, all the different parts that add to your overall well-being, physical, social, mental, emotional, financial, spiritual, there's going to be some areas that you feel like you could do a little bit more work there to make it a little bit more equal. So for yourself, for myself anyway, I know the social element is rather small right now, but I'm making sure to keep adding into that through connection through family and friends and technology, saying hello to my neighbors if I'm passing. So just thinking for yourself as an individual or for your teams, where you can make it more balanced in terms of that wheel. Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, fantastic. So the wellness wheel is a real brilliant tool actually that we try to bake a lot of those learnings into the platform. So a saying comes to mind when it comes to the wellness wheel, which is, if you're everywhere, then you're nowhere. So if you're feeling down or especially at the moment where we're locked in, it's very easy to feel the pressure of the world or the stress like on our shoulders. And it can be very easy to fall into, okay, well, that's just how it is. And then I have to kind of just deal with this. It's not the case. But it can also feel overwhelming if there's a whole bunch of different things going on at the same time. Maybe we're working less hours, we're not getting the exercise, we're not eating quite as well, we're not seeing our friends. So there are a number of areas that are getting impacted. An approach can be, and this is something that psychologists and coaches do with their clients, is that make a decision about one area of your wellness wheel that you would choose to focus on first. So is it physical, social, mental, emotional, financial, spiritual? There's a few more beyond that perhaps, but identify one area that you'd like to focus on and perhaps give yourself or challenge yourself to have themed weeks. So as an example, this week I'm going to focus on my physical health, and you set yourself a number of initiatives to make sure that you're really taking care of your physical health, and then you move on to the next one that you feel is of most relevance to you at that time. Clearly it's a progressive thing, but you improve or you make 1% improvement to your life every single day over 100 days. It's a pretty good number, right? So don't fall down the trap of bombarding yourself with trying to do too much too soon. Any small step in the right direction is a good step to take.
Absolutely. Thank you for that addition, Ray. That was amazing. Alrighty, so let's dive into the first tool that you can start to be exploring for yourself and your teams that can make a world of difference from the onset, from the moment that you integrate it. And it's a personal favorite practice of mine to do personally and also to share in the corporate space, especially because it's free, it's simple, and you can do it anywhere at any time, which is amazing. Now, some of you might be meditation practitioners. You might have been doing it for years. Take what you need again, leave what you don't. For those that are brand new to meditation or looking or curious to start your own practice, this might be some useful information just to get started. So meditation is an ancient tool that has been around for thousands and thousands of years. and is being used now more contemporarily to support our mental health and our mental hygiene, so that we don't get wrapped and warped within our thoughts, but we create a bit of distance so that we can choose how we want to show up. We can choose the thoughts that we want to act upon. When I describe meditation to beginners, I often say, we don't want to stop our thoughts. That's the mind's nature. It's going to think. It's amazing. Sometimes we have the best thoughts ever in meditation, and we're like, that's the idea, that's the plan, that's what I'm going to propose, that's what I'm going to pitch. So I don't want to stop the thought, but what we want to do is we want to create a distance. We want to create a spaciousness and a place of observation where you get to find a little bit of peace from that monotonous cycling of the mind space when we're just looped in patterns and thoughts that overrun us. And the act of meditation itself isn't sitting just doing nothing. Usually we have a focal point, and that focal point can change depending on what style of meditation you're doing and also the guidance that you're receiving. For example, if your focus is going to be the breath, when you're focusing purely on your breath, the moment of meditation is when the mind journeys away and you're off somewhere else, you're going down a rabbit hole of thoughts, and you bring yourself back to the breath. That moment there is the meditation. And the more you do that, the more you cycle through that awareness of coming back to the focus, the more you strengthen your ability to find discipline of the mind, but also to find clarity. And you get to choose what you think, which is amazing. So meditation can reduce stress, fear, anxiety, can expand feelings of joy, compassion, connection, expand spiritual understanding and connection also. So we've explored what meditation is in really basic, quick, simple terms. There's a lot more information out there, and I could talk a hell of a lot more about this theme. But quite simply, the average person will have more than 6,000 thoughts in a single day. And the way that they're measuring it is they call it thought worms, which I just love, that they see a thought worm coming through, and that's how they've been measuring it. And the question to you is, how many of those 6,000 on average thoughts are you aware of, or are you conscious of, or are you kind of sifting through and they're just in autopilot otherwise? I often share these tools and techniques of meditation and mindfulness in schools as well, because I believe that's a wonderful thing to be doing, is to equipping the younger generation with these tools so they can create the new way of being. And little Zach 10, while we're here sitting in meditation, after his meditation practice, we only do a few minutes with the kids at a time, but I said, so what is meditation to you? What does it mean individually? What do you think it could mean? He puts his hand up, so excited. It's like brushing your teeth, but for your mind. And I'm like, yes, Zach, you've got it. You're going to be a guru. It was amazing. So it was a joy to hear his explanation. And I thought I just had to share that with you. So if you're into hygiene and you haven't got meditation as one of your hygiene tools yet, this is your time to look after your mind and to make sure that it's working for you, not against you. Any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, thanks, Abigail. Look, it's so interesting to see the insight children have, isn't it? A really brilliant practical approach that I've seen to this. It actually came out of Bupa, who are private health insurance providers, but they've got a mindfulness initiative, and they describe it as putting a comma in your day. I really enjoy that because I'd say that mindfulness isn't an area that I would naturally spend time looking at. Like as a fella in his 30s, it's mindfulness and mental well-being isn't an inherent sort of thing that is a focus. So I was thinking about how I might slowly take bite-sized steps into the right direction. Clearly, it's a really interesting area, and the comma in the day was absolutely terrific. And it literally starts with 60 seconds of mindfulness to, it's a minute in your day, right? Everybody should be able to find the time to be able to do this and have a little bit of a crack. And how it actually worked, it was a guided meditation around breathing in preparation for meetings. It was called a little meeting prep. It goes for 60 seconds. It was a really, really great way just to get started in this space. And then from there, the world's your oyster. It's you don't need to start with a 90-minute mindfulness session and jump straight in the deep end. You can actually, there's a lot of really interesting low-hanging fruits to get started in this space. If you're interested but not sure how to take that first step, YouTube's a really good resource for thousands and thousands of great mindfulness videos. But Abigail, maybe it's a good time to share a couple of the little goodies, the videos that you'll be sharing after today.
Oh yeah, good idea, Ray. Yes, so I've just launched a meditation for absolute beginners course, which is fully online, fully self-paced. You get up to 6 months to move through the material, and I'll cover there's many kinds of meditation, not all, I can't say that, but there's at least 10 styles that we go through with very simple, accessible, guided meditations, 16 downloadables. You get 35 little short topic videos to explore. And for Employment Hero leaders and employees, you'll get to receive a 30% discount to that. So I'll give you the code at the end, and there'll be a sign up link for that as well being sent out afterwards. And also there's an invitation to you and your teams and family and friends to join me next week on Thursday, the 2nd of September at 12 o'clock midday. So carve it out, it's your lunchtime, to do a 30-minute introduction to meditation or beginners meditation workshop with me, where we'll have a little chat and we'll go through a guided practice, and there'll be a lot of opportunity to feedback and to ask questions. Alrighty, so that's meditation.
Thanks, Abigail. So just very quick one. I recommend for any HR manager or individual person who's super keen to get started, that session is a really great way just to save space, your digital. So, if it gets overwhelming at any point, you can just close the laptop. But
that's right.
It's a really great way just to get started, and you're in safe hands with Abigail. So it was actually that session rather than the discount I was referring to. But
I went both.
No,
I went all in.
Fantastic. Good to know as well. Abigail's got some really generous things that you'll be getting access to as part of today. But yeah, sorry, Abigail, back over to you.
No, awesome. Thank you, Ray. Thanks for that. So next place we're going to explore what another practice that can do a lot for your mind, your body, your spirit, everything is yoga. Now, again, you might be a fully equipped yoga practitioner yourself, but if you're not, this is a time to just get a bit of extra information about how you can bring it into your life and how you can maybe share it with your teams as well and colleagues. So I've been sharing this within the corporate space for the last 3 or 4 years now, after doing it privately and publicly, and have been getting such incredible feedback. It's especially now, it's become a bit of a community tool as well to engage within your teams, and people are having their videos on, and we're sharing and we're laughing, and it's a really wonderful space to work through the mind and the body. So yoga is not just the physical poses that you see an image of here. It goes much deeper than that. We're really working with the breath to find clarity, to find focus, to find centering. And every time that you're breathing with intention and you're using some of these breathing tools within your yoga practice, which we call pranayama, it's centering you, and it's also altering the chemistry of your nervous system, and it's taking you into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and our digest space. And it gives you, again, like Ray said, with the mindfulness, it's that comma, it's that time in the day just for you to tune into yourself and to give a bit back to your body, to your mind, and to your overall health. So yoga reduces stress and anxiety, strengthens and lengthens the body, creates self-awareness, acceptance, and love, and expands spiritual understanding and connection, should you wish to dive into that side of the practice. I'll quickly read out this little quote from the National Center for Biotechnology Information in 2011 from one of their studies, and they discovered that yogic practices enhance muscular strength and body flexibility. Who doesn't want to be more strong and flexible? Promote and improve respiratory and cardiovascular function, promote recovery from and treatment of addiction, reduce stress, anxiety, depression, and chronic pain, improve sleep patterns, and enhance overall well-being. Now, if that doesn't sell yoga to you for you to try out, I don't know what will, but a way we can start this, and it's all about starting, right? It's a way of just connecting with your breath. Like Ray said, it's having those few breaths before going into a Zoom meeting. It's having a little stretch out, maybe going on the ground and just putting your feet together, having your knees out in a butterfly pose, as we know in yoga, and just giving your hips a little bit of a moment once a day. There's an amazing, I'm going to give you one amazing yoga position that you can do before bed, maybe within the half an hour before you go to bed, that will just take you into the most calm state before you get into bed. It's legs up against the wall. It's from yin yoga, a practice that I've trained in as well. And you'll basically put yourself against the wall. Your sit bones will be up against the wall. Your legs are up against the wall, and you're just letting everything balance, reset, or you can put a timer for 5 minutes, and that will soothe and calm your nervous system. If you've never done this before, I'm excited for you. And hopefully that will bring some great sleep, because I know sleep has been a big thing at the moment as well. Any thoughts and questions on yoga?
Love that one, Abigail. I've not tried it before, but will do. Specifically on yoga, again, I would call out that you don't need to be going into a yoga studio for 90 minutes for this stuff to work. There's really accessible, bite-sized ways to get started, and Abigail's got a number of things there. An area that might be helpful for those that are interested, you tapped on it there, is sleep hygiene. Sleep is just so important as a foundation to well-being and health. So anything that can help support what they call sleep hygiene is really important. Certainly we'll give that a crack. There's a few usual suspects, like desperately trying not to have your mobile phone in your bedroom and dimming the lights. We've got a little one, so we naturally have to dim the lights before it's bedtime anyway. And it's amazing how quickly it can start to put you in a frame of sleep. Something I might just share there is this notion of a routine when as part of your sleep hygiene. Sounds obvious, but let me explain it. When you go to bed, but understand what the steps are that you take before you actually go to your bedroom. So you might actually have a glass of water, brush your teeth, maybe do a lap of the place to make sure that all the windows and doors are locked. Maybe go to the bathroom and then jump into bed from there. And you'll find that you'll naturally have a routine that you do every day. If in the middle of the night you're struggling to fall asleep, or you wake up and you're starting to get frustrated and you start to find that you're getting wound up, it can be a really difficult pattern to get out of. And often in the middle of the night, one of the biggest frustrations for people who can't sleep is that they can't sleep. So it creates this self-fulfilling frustration. A way to combat it that's proved to be quite helpful is to make sure that you repeat your sleep routine, so that even if you're doing the same thing 3, 4, 5 times in a night, over time, your body will recognize that these are the conscious things that you are doing in order to prepare for sleep. So that might mean brushing your teeth again at 1 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, whatever it is. If you ever find that you're frustrated and it's difficult to get back to sleep, follow your sleep hygiene. And over time, it might be a really helpful way to get yourself back on track.
Oh, that's a good one. I'm going to give that a go. Thank you. Amazing. So looking at the next tool that you can start to implement now, inner work. It's a very broad area to work within. It's all encompassing of the work that you do within yourself. So the self-work, you deepen or start your practice within this time is a great moment to, almost like looking in a mirror, you start to see a few things that you'd like to work through. It's looking within yourself so that you can start shaping your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, and your attitudes to create a healthier and happier version of yourself. But on the philosophy of as you are, you're already amazing and enough and whole and complete as you are. This is just a way of furthering and expanding your health and your well-being. And it can look like many things. It could look like doing some reflection on your childhood and working through some forgiveness, some acceptance, and some closing of a few chapters. It could look like doing some mirror work, talking to yourself in the mirror and saying positive things or accepting things to yourself. I know it sounds a bit full on, and maybe it's something you have been doing, but it's quite strong when you start to focus on the relationship with yourself. You start to make massive leaps and bounds in the relationships outside of yourself. That includes work, it includes family relationships, romantic relationships, and professional relationships. So inner work can increase self-awareness, strengthen relationships, improve focus and direction, expands joy, gratitude, and compassion. Now, within the inner work, I'd also say that yoga and meditation is part of that bracket. But again, it can look like many things. It can look like going on a virtual yoga retreat for the weekend. It could look like doing a breath work practice. It could look like doing journaling or gratitude. For me personally, in the lockdown, being very mindful of the thoughts I'm having and starting the day with positivity has been an incredible medicine for my health. Waking up and sharing gratitude, either internally just for myself, oh my gosh, I get to live another day. Some people in the world don't get to live today. So I'm going to get up and show myself that I am living, I'm here, I'm breathing, and I'm going to honor that. It can look like simply turning to your partner in the evening, which we've started to integrate, or a friend, or calling someone or a colleague and saying about your highlight of the day. What was your highlight? And it makes you retrace. It makes you go back and go, oh yeah, that was another day. It's not just this blurry thing of time. That was another day. And it starts to, again, put a few little boundaries between days for us. And I love this quote by Rumi, who's a Persian philosopher from thousands of years ago, but his words are still ringing true for me anyway. And I thought you'd like to hear it. And he says, and you, when will you begin that long journey into yourself? So yeah, any thoughts on the inner work?
That's brilliant. No, just following on from that, an area that I found super helpful when we were studying. This was the notion of one small thing a day. So yeah, it's one area that you agree, you commit to yourself to be thankful for or compassionate about, or reaching out to that friend. It's amazing how many small intentional actions can improve your well-being over time. A couple of questions that have come through, Abigail, which I can maybe ask now or at the end.
Whenever.
The first one, circling back on yoga positions. So are there any other easy yoga positions you can recommend?
Yes, so there's a few other ones, and especially while you're working from home, I'll give you a few of my top few. I might even get the camera somewhere where you can see it, or I can send some images to Ray and put them in the email. But there's low lunge. So if you have a notepad and pen, just write these down. There's low lunge, or Anjaneyasana, if you want the Sanskrit, and you've got one leg out in front of you, you've got the other knee on the ground, and you're softening into your hip flexor a little bit, breathing. And when we're sat all day, or when wherever we're doing our work from, what's happening is our frontal hip flexors are getting shorter and shorter and shorter, and our glutes are getting more stretched and more stretched. So we're getting this tension up at the front of the hips. And that's an incredible one to release all of that tension that we're getting when we're sat in a 90-degree angle most of the day. Another one for calming and soothing, if you search on YouTube short yin yoga practice, you're going to get some amazing little short sequences. And yin yoga, if you haven't heard of it, instead of your dynamic movement yoga based stuff, what you're doing is you're grounding on earth. So you're on your mat and you're doing maybe 2 or 3 positions within 20 minutes or so. And you get a few minutes in each pose just to release that psychological release, physical release. Our fascia, our connective tissue gets time to moisten and expand. So we get right deep into the connective tissue and give our body a deep, sweet release. So Anjaneyasana, low lunge, legs up against the wall, butterfly, as I mentioned, with your feet together, knees out, and just allowing your hips to open. Yogi squat, malasana. So deep squat, hands at heart in your prayer pose, and just being there for a few breaths. That's going to, again, help with hips. Another one that I've been doing a lot of recently is just simply clasping my hands behind my back and then folding forward. And that gives you a big, deep shoulder opener. So I hope those are a few helpful ones if you've been jotting them down. But I'll get a few pictures of me in some of the poses and I'll send them over to Ray, and maybe they can get shared later. Awesome. Anything else before we move on?
No, I've got a great question here, which I'll save for the end. We did receive a lovely comment though. I love the reflection. Every night we sit at dinner and talk about the best parts of our day, which is really lovely. My wife and I have this high-low buffalo, which is the high of the day, the low of the day, and the buffalo of the day. which is, the unusual thing that you wouldn't have anticipated, which is a nice, way to do it.
That's beautiful. High, low, buffalo. I had a similar one, which is highlight, low light, affirmation. So you highlight your low light and then something you're going to take away from that day that you learned as well. So brilliant. Such gorgeous techniques and tools. Thank you for sharing, whoever shared that. Awesome. Okay, so we're into the wellness hacks, and I might go a bit more into this. So 5 top wellness hacks and a few other little things that have come since I started to make this presentation that I'd like to share as well. So number 1, really, really motivate and advise you to explore meditation as a practice for yourself and your teams. You don't have to go in for an hour or go and do a 10-day silent retreat. As Ray said, it can be very small. It can start small and grow from there. You could set an alarm for a mindful moment each day, and you just do 60 seconds, and you could put a favorite track on. I'm going to be sending out a playlist that I've got as well, which is called Care, and there's some of my favorite very calming, soothing tracks on there. You could put the playlist on, you could set a timer on your phone, or even just breathe if you've got a bit more time for 60 seconds to a minute, and just notice how that small thing changes. And then working toward a solid meditation practice, if you're curious about that, for about 5 to 20 minutes per day can make the world of difference. Really, really can. Bold boundaries. So again, being really clear in your boundaries around work, screen, and end of day. So what my partner and I were doing at the end of the day, go down to the dog park, have some time. But if we weren't doing that at the very end of his working day or my working day, we'd normally do a little bit of yoga, or we'd get some cucumber and put it on our eyes. We'd do something that would feel like there's a difference between I'm at work and now I'm stopped. So like Ray putting the things away from the desk, amazing one. Pre-meet moments. So just like that pre-Zoom meeting moment that we shared earlier, having some time to prepare yourself and to present yourself within and externally can make a huge difference. What I've been doing is brushing my teeth before like an afternoon meeting as well. And it just makes me feel fresh and tingy and from the inside as well. So washing your face or splashing water on yourself, or if you're a yoga practitioner, getting on your head and doing a headstand and doing something that's getting you ready for that call so that you can show up in your best self. And obviously pajamas are welcome on the bottom half always during working from home. I've got a big blanket wrapped around my knees at the moment. So 1 daily commitment. So I'd love for you, yourself individually, and for your teams to be thinking of 1 daily commitment, and that could change every few weeks. For me, my current 1 daily commitment is drinking a glass of water as soon as I wake, and making sure I do that every single day without negotiation. Another one that I did at another stage was making sure I get out for my morning walk for at least 20 minutes. Now we could have a morning routine that takes up 2 hours if we wanted to go there, but it's not realistic. We have things to do. So just choose 1, make it simple, make it digestible, make it accessible for yourself. So either getting in the water as well, if you're lucky enough to live by the water at this time, getting into the ocean once a day, something like that. And the 5th one, staying connected. So it's so easy to kind of almost really go within and hibernate a little bit, which is welcome at times in our life. But I think right now, during this time, it's integral that we stay connected. When we check in with a family member or a friend member, we're not just checking in for them. We're actually receiving so much for ourselves as well. We probably needed that call or that connection more than we actually knew we did. So making sure you stay connected and maybe bringing a gratitude practice into that connection as well. I'm so grateful that we've got this connection and that we're here for each other during this time. 2 other things that I wanted to add on to these 5 since creating this presentation, since lockdown's advanced. Be playful, be creative. My partner and I played hide and seek a few nights ago, and that was probably the highlight of the week. It's going, right, okay, how are we going to entertain ourselves when we can't go and do the other things? And we're very resourceful as humans. There's a lot we can do, and it's requiring us to strip back and to come back to our childhood memories and some of our activities that we did when we weren't able to do other things. So be playful, be creative. If you're into art and you haven't done that for a while, get creative, get artistic, fill up your cup. And the final one there is Oh yeah, positivity, positive thoughts. There's an old Zen teaching about an old grandfather and his granddaughter walking down the street. And the granddaughter says to her grandfather, "Grandfather, what are you thinking?" And he says, "Well, I'm thinking I've got two parts of myself. I've got a good brain and a bad brain." And she said, "What do you mean?" "Well, sometimes I have bad thoughts and sometimes I have good thoughts." And she's like, "Okay, so which one would win?" And he said, "Well, the one that you strengthen and the one that you feed." So if we're strengthening and watering the good thoughts and the positivity and the gratitude, that's gonna be the thing that wins. So carving out a gratitude practice changes the chemistry of our brain, changes the neural pathways. So coming back to positivity as much as you can, looking at things with an abundance mindset, recognizing that we do have everything we need and more. Obviously, there's things that have changed and things have been removed, but we've still got so much to be grateful for. So yeah, any thoughts, questions on a few of those little hacks or any comments from the group?
These are brilliant, Abigail. No, these are fantastic. A low hanging, just playing on the playful aspect, and also staying connected. Something that I don't consciously do, but does happen, and maybe something that I should be consciously doing is making more points of talking to colleagues in a more playful nature. So where we've got Slack or formal emails and communication, everything is like, because you need something or there's a problem or there's a function that needs to get responded to. What would be really lovely, and I imagine that over time, every time you get a ping, it creates a little micro response of anxiety to go, oh, what's happened? I wonder if a different approach that we could all do as as team members in the businesses that we work in is spend more time sending informal communication to each other, just playful things, random questions, maybe a really lovely way to build rapport. Something that our team are looking at doing is that every week or every fortnight, two team members who wouldn't ordinarily spend time together organize either like a lunchtime walk or a coffee or a drink after work, like a virtual drink after work, something like that. But yeah, it's not difficult. Even with friends, you can send them a little text message about, like a weird memory or something that popped in the back of your mind. Don't sit on that, pass it on, and you never know where that conversation can go. And if you get somebody at the right/wrong time, it might be, what could create some really lovely, things in people's lives.
Absolutely. That's so lovely. Thank you so much, Ray. Amazing. So where to go from here? So I mentioned it just before now, but next week on Thursday at 12 p.m. Sydney time, I'll be hosting a live virtual meditation for beginners workshop. And I look forward to seeing you there. If you're curious, as I've said, feel free to send the link to your team as well. It doesn't just have to be you. I think I've got about up to 150 spaces available. So booking, get yourself there. And I'll also make sure the recording goes out to those that have signed up to that as well. Also, I mentioned briefly the Meditation for Absolute Beginners course that is fully online, fully self-paced through the As You Are Life School that I run, which is the virtual space to learn and integrate transformative tools for your wellness. And with the Employment Hero discount that Ray and I have come to express and celebrate, it's going to be EH_love, LOVE. So Employment Hero, so EH.love. And that will take 30% off any of the courses on the As You Are Life School. As more courses come, that will still be valid. And also for the corporate packs and the sanctuary packs, that is still your discount. So go and have a look there if you're curious and you want to explore offering that to your teams as a beautiful wellness support system tool for them right now. In general ways, you can boost wellness through your teams and for yourself by attending or organizing live wellness classes or webinars, workshops. And when you do this for your teams, when you create a space for wellness or to explore that, they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel supported, and that is just that's gonna come back to you as well. It's gonna come back to the business. When we're caring for our teams will care for us. So really integral that if you have nothing in place at the moment in a wellness space, it's time to take inspired action and to get something in for them.
Abigail, so generous of you. Thank you so much. I know that, well, from a personal note, but also from all of the conversations that we're having, that it's so difficult to know how to get started in this space. So having the offer of a free 30-minute beginner session is super generous, and equally that commercial discount, that 30%. We all know that resources are super stretched at the moment, and anything that can help reduce the barrier to accessing this stuff and delivering it both personally and to teams is always really well received. So thank you. It's a real generous offer.
I'm so happy to be able to support individuals and teams right now. So yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to pop my screen over. So as we go to questions, and please do continue to send them through. We've got Abigail's contact email address if you'd like to ask any questions directly. We will of course share everything after the session, so you'll have access to the content and the discount codes and all of that. But if you would like to reach out to Abigail directly, certainly encourage you to do so. And just confirming, asyouare.life is the URL. It's just a super funky one.
Yeah.
A question that we got earlier in the session was, any suggestions on the best strategy to close some chapters in your thoughts, especially when mind goes in overdrive mode?
Yeah, so this is the overthinking mind that we're exploring. And so you can take ownership of the thoughts that you're having, and there's a few ways that you can direct your thoughts into something else than that spiral. So let's take, for example, I'm lying in bed and my mind is racing. A thought drops in. Oh, I forgot to email Barry about that thing. Something else comes up. I'm going to choose just to take a moment, acknowledge my mind is racing and that thing needs to be done. Maybe you have a notepad by your bed. Maybe that's a strategy that you do and you write it down and you don't have to think about it. Another strategy could be coming straight into the body. Through meditation and mindful practice, come to the breath. There's a really calming breath that we call 4-6 breath. You breathe in for 4, you take a moment of suspension at the top of the breath, and you breathe out for 6 or 8. So you're counting. Your mind is taken elsewhere. It's taken into the body, and that there's no stories in the breath. There's no story in the body because it's pure presence. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, for sure. Again, when I was studying a little bit of this social psychology, we were encouraged to keep what they called a gratitude journal. But for me, it was really a dumping ground for odd thoughts and things that would just pop up throughout the day. And it's amazing how liberating it is just getting something on paper. It's like, okay, now it's there. It doesn't need to be here.
Yeah, it's somewhere else. And maybe I'll never even look at it, but it's somewhere else.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. Please do send through any final questions. Mindful we're slightly over with the tech issue earlier. So I might just, as any questions are coming through, just quickly say that we've got two final sessions for the series, which I'm really looking forward to. We've got organizational wellbeing and safety. Chris Ma, who's a co-founder and CEO of Sonda, is actually I think it was actually the SAS, several years experience being in the SAS, so really interesting insights into how to challenge yourself and build that resilience muscle. So we're doing a bit of a keynote presentation next week. And then we've got improving your physical health at home with Matthew Green, who's both a CEO of Body App and an author of Sick of Being Sore, a recently published book, and there'll be some goodies announced on the day there. Abigail, thank you so much for your time today and bearing with us a little bit earlier. It's really appreciated. I see that everyone who did attend has stuck through the session, and that's always a really good sign that the content's been super engaging. So thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you for everyone who's here attending. It's brilliant to share this virtual space with you all. And I hope that you can take at least 1 or 2 things from this session into your own life and then spread it into your colleagues, friends and family's lives too.
Yeah, thank you. That's lovely, Abigail. And as a final note, we will email you all directly. And I no silly questions here, so feel free to shoot it back to Employment Hero. We can triage and send to Abigail, or Abigail, I'm sure you're very happy to receive direct comments and questions as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. If anyone needs to reach out personally and drop me an email, please feel free. I'm here for that. I've just seen one question now. What would you recommend as a first step for business with no wellness initiatives, and how would you go about implementing that? I think the first thing and the most easiest thing to do is either getting something similar like this, a wellness talk or a wellness discussion in for your team to show that wellness is something you're prioritizing, and then to start implementing maybe a session a week. Maybe it's a meditation session, maybe it's a yoga session, maybe it's a Pilates or keep fit session. But start getting in some professionals to share their tools with your teams.
Yeah, or speak to someone in the sales team at Employment Hero.
Yes, that's a good one. Go to Ray. Head to Ray.
Indeed. No, great question, guys. Yeah, we'll keep conversation flows going through email. But Abigail, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Taking the time, and it's
of course,
been a real pleasure.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Thanks,
Take
everybody.
care.